Hello, everybody. I wanted to briefly go over the intricate details of a foreign trust and a domestic trust. Now, inside the Patreon courses, patreon.com/the 0%, just like the name of the book on Amazon, you will be able to, well, you're first introduced into what an express trust is. Now, the goal here is to follow the rules of the Internal Revenue Manual to get our express trust recognized by the IRS when we conduct an internal, uh, when we conduct an interview over the phone with the IRS agent. We're calling into the foreign department. Inside of the freshman class, that is where you will find how to do that. But just to give you a little bit more information as to what we're talking about, why we're using an express trust, what it does, and how does the government see it. Let me first read an article. This is premieroffshore.com, and it's talking about foreign trusts, which can give you access to top offshore bank accounts. Now, this is very difficult if you are a U.S. citizen and you have a domestic trust, and you're trying to use that same entity to go and open up a bank account in another country for whatever reason. IRAs, investments, offshore storage of commodities. It's very difficult to do that. Now, this site and this article is going to talk about the purpose of a foreign trust, more specifically, the purpose of having a foreign trustee attached to your express trust. That is what every court will look at when it comes to the identity of your trust. Who is the trustee? Who is the one that is considered the sole trustee? Okay, you have a sole trustee and you have co-trustees, which is another word for an authorized representative, or passive trustees. But the sole trustee is the one that gets to make all of the decisions, at least for us, on paper. But in reality, we are calling the shots in our plenipotentiary of power contract agreements. So let's read this article here. It says most top offshore banks are closed to Americans. In fact, 95% of the best foreign banks have shut their doors to us because of the costly reporting now required by the IRS. They're talking about the FACTA laws. FACTA. The only way you can get into the best banks in 2017 is through the back door. Here's how to gain access to top-tier offshore banks, currency traders, and brokerage firms when you hold a U.S. passport. If you, a U.S. citizen living in America, were to walk into a top bank in Switzerland, Germany, or Andorra, which I highly recommend Andorra, and ask to open an account, one of two things would happen. If you're in Switzerland, they'll politely apologize and say, no, that's just their nature. Anywhere else, they might laugh at you and escort you to the door. We Americans have a big scarlet letter A across our chests. The U.S. IRS has fined top banks billions of dollars and turned bank tellers into unpaid agents required to report all transactions involving U.S. persons. In addition, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act now requires banks to spend hundreds of millions on computer systems to generate annual reports that go to the IRS. Foreign banks have stricter compliance and U.S. reporting requirements than U.S. banks do. The bottom line is that no top-tier bank wants to do business with Americans, at least not directly. The back door into these top offshore banks is a foreign trust. You, the U.S. person, are the settler and owner of the assets in the structure. You then appoint a foreign trustee and possibly a protector. Remember, we talk about trust protectors. Some states call them a trust director. These people are responsible for protecting the trust assets for the benefit of your heirs. They're also responsible for making investment altercations and selecting a custodian. Next, the trustee or protector hires an investor advisor, usually one based in Switzerland. This person has master accounts at the largest investment banks and can get you in without all the scrutiny. This multi-level approach gets you into the bank and you want and increases the asset protection provided by your trust. For asset protection purposes, your 2 or 3 levels removed from the management of your foreign trust. This will be a big plus and provide the strongest level of protection should a creditor file a claim against your structure. I know in South Dakota, which is one of the discretionary trust states, that if you were to quitclaim your property into a trust that is registered within any county of South Dakota, their laws there, I believe it is Title 55, where your foreign fiduciary, your foreign trustee or protector can apply with the court for a mortgage satisfaction just because the property, the trust owned the property via quitclaim deed for at least 2 years. Okay. These are things that a foreign trust can do. The top 10 billionaires and millionaires and all of them, the wealthy, the 1%ers, those that experience the 0% tax bracket, this is what they do. And they pass it on to the next generation. Let's continue. It's also possible to create this structure for a large IRA or retirement plan. When you form an offshore IRA LLC, that company is owned by your account, not you personally. You can elect to become the manager of that LLC, or you can appoint a foreign investment manager. For maximum protection and access to top-tier banks, go with the independent investment advisor. And this is what I show you guys in the class when we talk about entity reclassification. If you have an existing LLC, what you need to do is make your trust the sole member of that LLC. That means it is 100% the beneficial owner. But you can be appointed as a manager. It's like working for McDonald's. If I wanted to sue McDonald's for whatever an employee did to me, I'm not going to sue and take the manager to court. They're not the owner. The sole owner is the member to the LLC. If it is an S or C corporation, I'm not going to sue the president. I'm going to call out the shareholders, right? So you would make your trust a shareholder of the corporation's articles and list yourself as a chairman, CEO, president, or whatever you want. That's the structure for having your trust to own LLCs, and they are explaining that here with IRAs or offshore IRA accounts. Let's continue. When you appoint a foreign investment manager and draft an operating agreement with much of the asset protection verbiage found in offshore trust accounts, you can add a signature layer of security to your retirement accounts. Also, the foreign manager can give you access to top offshore banks, just as he does for a foreign trust. Most of these managed accounts, be they are for an IRA or foreign trust, will require an opening deposit of $500,000 to $2.5 million. There are only a few well-connected advisors that will open an account at the top-tier bank with a deposit for $500,000. There are several that can work with $2 million or more. Of course, you can take any sized IRA offshore. There are plenty of smaller international banks that will be happy to open an account for your IRA LLC. If less than $500,000, I suggest you be listed as the manager to eliminate management fees. Okay, so if I have a life insurance policy here or an IRA here, I can transfer that over to a foreign LLC. in another country by simply having my foreign trustee create the business for me. And this is what we do with our trustees located in Colombia, Ecuador, and we're working on more in the European markets as well. And if you know any, please contact us. We'd love to talk with you. Let's continue here. It's talking about this part. One last comment on these managed accounts for offshore trust. It's possible to create a tax-free or tax-deferred account for a foreign trust. And this is where we get into the life insurance. Basically, you can open a US compliant tax-free account similar to a giant Roth IRA without any of the contribution limits or distribution requirements. Here's how. Your foreign trust can use its capital to buy a private placement life insurance policy on the settlor, which is you. Any gains inside this policy, which is owned by the trust, are tax deferred until you liquidate the policy. If you never close the policy, then this money passes to your heirs tax-free. Under current law, your heirs will receive a step up in basis when property and assets of the life policy are distributed to them. This means that they'll pay no tax on the gains earned on those assets while in the trust. This same structure can be used to create generational wealth where the assets are held by the trust for generations to come, and heirs receive monthly or quarterly distributions. For more on this, see Offshore Dynasty Trust Explained. Okay, so that is the entire article. We want to create a foreign trust and have a foreign trustee from another country. If you have one from, let's say, you're in Michigan here and your trustee is in Argentina. They are Argentinian nationals. Use them to open up foreign bank accounts. Why? To protect your assets even more. From who? These people, the IRS. Now they tell you exactly how to set up an account like this with them. And I'm talking about putting together a foreign trust, even though you may be a US citizen, presumed to be a US citizen, right? If you go to IRM 21.7.13.1, it'll bring you to this page here. You want to scroll down until you get to foreign entities not required to file a US tax return. Let's click on that. Now let's read. For example, that tells you everything about foreign corporations and individuals, right? If you go down, they're really explaining how to fill out the SS4 form. But once you are done and you are successful with obtaining a specific EIN number under the laws of TEFRA, TEFRA stands for Tax Equity Fiscal Responsibility Act. When you have this specific EIN under those laws, they will place you under what line 2 says. Establish these entities on the zero file. Now, when you successfully have this number, automatically, naturally, you will get a correspondence in the mail from the IRS talking about you need to file a 1041 form immediately, which is impossible, right? You're not going to do that. So they tell you what to do. Line 3, right here. If the foreign entities, individuals above receive a letter from the IRS soliciting that the filing of a US tax return, the foreign entity individual should respond to the letter immediately by stating that it has no requirement to file a US tax return. Failure to respond to the IRS letter may result in a procedural assessment of tax by the IRS against the foreign entity. So all you have to do when you get this correspondence is to respond saying you have no liability or requirement to file a US tax return, but you have to give reasons why. You must give reasons why. I'm going to share why. Go to 26 CFR 301.7701-7. It talks about foreign and domestic trust. Now, it is very key, you should know by now, you must have a non-resident alien as your foreign trustee. Otherwise, you do not have a foreign trust. You will have a domestic trust. You should know that by now. Why? Because a trust is a United States person if, okay, that's a big if. Imagine that if is a giant F and a giant I, giant I, giant F. If, okay, your trust is a United States person if, number one, a court within the United States, DC, is able to exercise primary supervision over the administration of the trust. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the court test. You do not want to pass the court test, which means you do not want to give jurisdiction over to the United States to exercise primary supervision over the administration of the trust. Do not give it to them. How do you give it to them? By having a U.S. citizen as your trustee. Because in trust law, the trustee is the manager of over all the assets. Do not give them that position. Number two, one or more United States persons, U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, state citizens, corporations, partnerships, American nationals, all of that, they have the authority to control all substantial decisions of the trust. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the control test. If your trust passes either one of these tests, you have a United States person as a trust. You have a domestic trust. You do not have a foreign trust. Most people think that if they get this specific EIN number, they're good. They have a foreign trust, but they don't know anyone foreign to be their trustee. They're stuck. Their accounts get closed. They are experiencing all these other issues where they thought they had remedy because the court has jurisdiction. If you scroll down, and they usually always give you the piece of the pie at the bottom to give you a description as to what you're looking for when it comes to having a foreign trustee. Example 4G. Here's the scenario. A United States citizen, that's you, creates a trust. The trust provides for income to A and B for life. The remainder to A's and B's descendants. A is a non-resident alien, and B is a United States person. The trustee of the trust is a United States person. So let's say it's you and you're the settler. Okay. You're a United States citizen and you are the settler who created the trust, and you are immediately the trustee. Let's say you started it this way. Now the trust instrument authorizes for A to replace the trustee. It allows for the non-resident alien to replace the trustee. It replaced you. Okay. The power to replace the trustee is a substantial decision. Because a non-resident alien, controls a substantial decision, guess what? The control test is not satisfied. Therefore, it is a foreign trust. Now, this non-resident alien can establish a bank account in their country with their passport identification and receive any transfers or distributions from your United States IRA, life insurance policies, 401ks, or what have you, to protect that money and to be tax-free over in another country to be what? Transferred to the heirs year after year, quarterly or bi-quarterly, however you like. That's what you have to do. So that's all I wanted to go over, just to show you the importance of a domestic trust and a foreign trust, the difference between them, what you must have to have a completely tax-exempt organization. I hope to see you in the classes every Saturday. Please join Patreon. I'd love to get a chance to speak with you all there and see you and interact with you there. Hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.